my fault. That was a win for any of you wondering. But I'm pretty sure that Gainer's going to be doing a little bit better with some non-random strategists behind them. Let's get into our ban phase, as being into T'Challa's domination is going to be where we kick off our best of 5 series.
Yeah, indeed. There goes that Jeff the Land Shark swimming off of the map immediately. OGC is going to get the opportunity to save it first and foremost. They will be able to pick themselves up that Ultron, which is a very smart save, as we get to see it now empower things like those flyers, while also being one of the heroes who is the hardest to be able to dive onto. And FaZe, well, they've had a traditional past of playing dive compositions 2-2-2 formats into their opponents multiple times on domination.
Well, if Mantis is available, Oasis is going to insist on it. Oasis is a crazy good Mantis player. One-sided Ultron going to be secured here for OGC, though, so maybe KQ and Frost Mountain can get something done up in the air.
Yeah, Adam is going to get removed now from FaZe, it being a domination map. Soulbind and Karmic Revival, especially if you're already in control of that point, means that the point percentage picked up and stalled through is going to be just a little bit too heavy for your opponent to try and deal with. As we can see, the one-sided Luna, so one-sided Mantis, one-sided Luna. Invis has not yet been targeted, so FaZe still have a good triple strategist lineup available for them, unless OGC try and ban it out now. But because Mantis got through and Luna, they're going to prioritize removing the Venom from the pool instead, given the fact that Feast of the Abyss could have been damage boosted from 2 separate angles.
That would have been terrifying to behold. Likely going to be the Adam ban last here for the side of FaZe, to try and avoid an Ultron, Adam, and Invisible Woman trio. But we'll see if they maybe try and pivot towards something in the sky.
I feel like you might actually want to let something like the Adam through here, though. Because if FaZe go for the dive component, Adam having that lack of mobility is one of the easier targets to dive and rush into. If you let something like an Invis Woman or something like that Emma Frost through, your dive is going to be having a little bit of a hard time because of the Carbon Crush.
Well, Emma made it through unscathed, and both teams locked that in real quick, Mox.
She does definitely have a very large picker. Remember stage 1 when it was that sort of push and pull between who of the Vanguards you would pick, the Emma or the Magneto as the instant ban first time around? And now ban strategies have just really dissolved into banning out as many strategists as possible to either force the 2-2-2 composition and punish the vulnerability of being able to burst through them, or having a triple strategist lineup and out-sustaining your opponent.
Going to be something to keep an eye on here as we head into Burning T'Challa. And I'm going to be looking at how Abuhu and their counterpart really play around. Is it going to be Rosa who pivots over? I assume so, onto the Emma Frost, because the dance of the diamond forms is all the more impactful now that in Season 4 the cooldown was increased, I think, to 20 seconds. It can be a considerable cooldown to force out, especially in the Emma versus Emma.
Oasis isn't on the Mantis. Leo is going to be on the Mantis instead. So even though both teams are able to lock in that Emma, Rosa is going to have a lead in terms of damage potential off of the Mantis, as opposed to Abuhu, who'll get a lot of damage uptime off of Name's Cloak Blind, but that's going to come in the form of a cooldown, 12 seconds, as opposed to Leo, who's going to be able to put out those damage boosts a lot more frequently.
Yep, those damage boosts really can make all the difference when it comes to the duelists. And in the back line already, you can see a regeneration event has been forced due to a couple of headshots being delivered by Gainer. Great mechanics when it comes to the Venom, and up in the sky, a quick spark detonation and a pull-in as well. Smashness is demanding a lot of attention, but so too is Frost Mountain when it comes to this healing that's needed. Back up to full. It seems like FaZe have got a lot of foothold on the point here. It's just Abuhu is going to be the one stalwart bastion available for OGC to keep this one contested. The pressure gets too much, and so it's a quick back away. The tracking is good from Rosa. 100 charge, and we know exactly what it do. Grabbed out of invisibility. KQ just flitters back into existence in the hands of Emma Frost. Lucky for some, I guess, as Gain is taken out on the outside.
Oh, and Smashness has already moved into position to cut off the disengagement by taking the off angle in the window, which means that OGC are going to have to clear that Star-Lord first if they want Frost Mountain and KQ to have access to space. Gainer too, his rotation on the Venom's always going to be spotted on out before he can find access to the back line.
Sentience crushed temporarily. A diamond form was used as well. It's actually expended by both of the teams here, which means it's going to be a lot more open for Gainer to try and make something happen. In the back, Frost Mountain taking a bit of damage. The pocket's good, though. Look at those expanded regeneration domains giving over a little bit of additional damage. Frost Mountain, even inside of the invisible boundary. Oh, the damage boost on the Galactic Legend is just so much to deal with. Your defensive ultimate means nothing.
I mean, it means as well that you're all silenced, because if you're playing inside the invis boundary, you're stuck inside the Sonic Seduction coming on through from Rosa, and it's not just the soul getting damage boosted, it's the entire rest of the team. Plus, when the regen domains get popped, because they've got the Vibrant Vitality coming on through both the Loki and the Mantis, they have the means of shutting the Ultron down, and FaZe is just going to give absolutely no freedom of space for the dive to get past. They're going to continue pushing this fight, though. The Freedom Charge does get lost even with the regen domain, and OG Seed, Feast of the Abyss, and Sonic Seduction try and brute force their way through choke.
Down on both Vanguards. We're going to try and turn everyone into a Vanguard via sheer force of healing. Winnie's has expired first, but now it's Oasis's turn. The relay is back, ladies and gentlemen. 10 seconds of near immortality as the fate of both worlds is decided. KQ reigns above it all and looks to rain down upon Leolaz. A direct strike and a spark detonated as a dark ascent from a gulag in the middle is how KQ returns to the fray. Winnie noted up on high ground. Regeneration domain is already being expended. A quick grab of the throat, a carbon crush, and Rosa hits the earth. Frost Mountain gets the Rage of Ultron known, and while it has taken a while, it is eventually going to be a flip in the favor of OG Seed.
OG Seed, though, are going to have to give up so much space, because Smashness can just open everything up with Galactic Legend. Granted, we're going to see Lapsus with Invisible Boundary, able to keep OG Seed healed up through it, but if it's dropped on the choke, what OG Seed are holding forward, it's not going to be on the objective, and Binary and the Captain America is just going to get a green light to go to the point.
Yeah, can't give away too much of that space. Winnie, little distraction area doppelganger in the back, you know. That wouldn't be Loki if there wasn't a little bit of duplicity going on.
Look at the amount of space that this Captain America's pulling too. All the way around, he's going to be able to hit the backline at the same time as Smashness gets ready to go with the Galactic Legend. He's trying to pressure out this Invis boundary early.
Yeah, Binary is going to be chased away. At least a big clump of OG Seed moving together. A defensive onion. KQ super low. The healing wasn't there because Rosa had the drone instead. Oh my goodness, the one clip. Bro's mechanics are nasty. The jump pad doesn't work if you're flying. It's a slow ascent before a cold one into 6 feet under graveyards. Monsters reborn here as FaZe returns to the point, and KQ is going to have an emergency portal come on through.
They've got Invis boundary, so OG Seed should be able to cushion themselves with a little bit of healing coming on through from that one, but FaZe are about to hit both the Loki and the Lunas. Now it's just a matter of waiting the 8 seconds, and Binary still not going to allow OG Seed any form of regroup inside the boundary. Pops the Freedom Charge and runs at the back line.
Heads uphill from Binary there, giving a burst of overhealth via the Freedom Charge. And now that it's over, it's down to the Lunar Snows to try and make it all work. 2 players grabbed by their brains here as Rosa makes sure that this fight gets a lot more complicated. Diamond Form still not available for 6 seconds. A good blocking off of the heels onto the Doctor Strange. A maneuver around has to be made. A stunner in the back. It's 4! Unreal from KQ. A flex over onto the Doctor Strange, but this wizard still hit level 20. A level 9 spell slot is expended, but the counter spell is good as well from a side of FaZe. Rosa still will stand alone, and OG Seed will flip.
99% though picked up for FaZe, and that's OG Seed burned out of teleport as well as all of their defensive. So FaZe can just do the same thing, except this time they don't even need to go in those soft stages. They can just open up with Galactic Legend and use it to find picks and bully OG Seed off of the point.
Smash Nez. An absolute monster to deal with right now for Frost Mountain. Even Binder's trying to get some mid-air harass in comes the Galactic Legend. 3 strategists stacked together inside of a safety bubble. It's going to give over plenty of heals, but the Ultron's not going to be quite so lucky, even with a double pocket rolling on through. Smashness finally has their ult expire. The Aegis is good for a little bit of sustainability. The FaZe, they have so much space here on the point to work with. They've almost capped it already. Sentinel Strike good to go. The backline under pressure. Name body blocked from getting inside of the invisible boundary. So now there's only a singular strategist left, and it's Lapsis Sotilas, who's already used their ultimate here. When he turned around on the other side, Gainer's got the mechanics to try and turn this one around via raw mechanical talent, but it's Smashnez with a Blaster Barrage who's really forcing out this backline. Frost Mountain can't live it. You know that Lapsis Sotilas is under equal pressure pressure, so KQ will stand alone, and the point is flipped again. FaZe stand dominant, and they stand on business as OG Seed wilt in the sun.
I mean, FaZe are planning for Rage of Ultron. If Frost Mountain had been able to build Rage of Ultron, Nami gets to come back with Eternal Bond for OG Seed, and FaZe lose that long-term fight that we saw them really struggle against when they played Chopped yesterday. They had really good opening engagements, but the second that the fight went into that second stage off of things like the comic revival, all of the target focus and ultimate economy just slowly started to run away from them. So you can see them really planning around what OG Seed are going to be relying on winning once that original engagement has worn off.
Warrior Falls up next. And this can be all about where you choose to take your fights, Mox. Rarely do we see like all-out centralized battles on the point until Doctor Strange portals start to get involved.
I mean, for OG Seed, they're playing the Phoenix and they're playing the Ultron. They're not going to be looking to stack and center. They have to be able to control those off angles and have Gainer on that Venom. Look to hit the backline and force Winnie and Oasis to peel each other, given the fact that Luna only gets that self-heal off of her own cooldowns invested. Smashers, though, and that Star-Lord's already going to be in position for a very aggressive hit. You've got Sonic Seduction, you've got Regeneration Domain for the unparalleled sustainability before ultimates come into play, and OG Seed gets steamrolled over for FaZe to establish the first point control.
Vibrant Vitality damage boost off that regen domain is also not to be underestimated when you think about how much damage you can pump out from the Emerald as well.
Yeah, OG Seed, now that they've got access to things like the Emerald Ultimate and the Cloak and Dagger, as well as the Ultron to clear the space, FaZe are going to be holding a little bit further up to try and tax OG Seed into burning one of those ultimates, and they're just going to look to disengage it potentially so that they don't have to worry about burning one of their ultimates off of Regeneration Domain, giving them that safety window to fall back into a copied God of Mischief on that Lunar Ultimate, and FaZe get aggressive off the back of it. CC Immunity buying them the safety through the Sonic Seduction.
Regen Domain has been expended, so too as the copy here. Winnie just instantly overwhelmed. A pair of Lunar Snow fall in tandem. OG Seed, unbridled aggression off the back of a double strategist ultimate is too much for FaZe to bear.
We're starting to see why these teams running the Cloak and Dagger is actually opening with Sonic Seduction and Eternal Bond at the same time. If you shield the Emerald Ultimate, you don't have the shield in place to stop the Terror Cape coming on through when Nami's behind your entire team. So even though Winnie had the Luna ult trying to heal everyone from FaZe, that blind vulnerability just meant that the breakpoint was a little bit too easy for OGC to be able to bypass, and now they're the ones in control of this fight, which means that FaZe have to fight for the high ground, and into the stun stack they go.
And Gainer around the back, unable to really convert on the Feast of the Abyss, but it has at least forced out more from Oasis. In comes the damage boost of the Fate of Both Worlds. Rosa still trying to build up this charge on the beam, and now the pivot over to the point is going to be reinforced by the invisible boundary drawn up by Lapsis or Tilas. Smashnes unable to really get involved over there, and is instead going to take a new angle with the Galactic Legend. A quick dark teleportation to take everyone to the dark dimension, but you can't hide from the Star-Lord. He reigns above it all, laying down bullets from on high as Icarus strikes back down to Earth.
Huge Galactic Legend before Frost could build up the Rage of Ultron too, which means that FaZe can take the fight aggressively. Frost had to rely on the Dark Teleportation coming through from Nami, but he can't fire, otherwise it cancels the iframe prematurely. And now OG Seed will again have access to that Rage of Ultron to open up the space. But once more, we're just going to see FaZe just use Stepping Stone's Regeneration Domain to fully disengage it. Actually, they're going to go aggressive and force the CC immunity from the Ultron first. Now they fall back into that Regeneration Domain.
Yeah, Regen Domain used that Aegis Shield will not last for long, but it seems like a fairly strong disengage here already from FaZe. No casualties suffered as they managed to make it back to safety. A quick copy coming through. I believe this one's Winnie, who has access now to a Fate of Both Worlds to keep the remainder of the team sustained. Oh, it's like we never left the Luna Loki meta. As much as I do not miss it, Smashnes having a good time up here, looking towards that squishy back line. Soon the Dagger Storm is going to evaporate, and the Eternal Bond is going to be what's relied upon by OG Seed. The entire time, though, FaZe still have control of the point, so they're still gaining percentage. Gainer going to try and convert here off the back of an End-Song Inferno into the big Feast of the Abyss, but it seems like everyone survived. The overhealth was good. The combo was too slow, or it didn't work out at all. 99% for FaZe, and OG Seed once more find themselves absolutely decimated by FaZe's combined arms maneuvers.
I mean, Smashers on this stall has been an absolute standout. They have to deal with the Staggers trying to buy the time for Frost to swap over to the Doctor Strange and Portal, but that is going to be burned into T'Challa in almost the blink of an eye. Faye is walking away with that win. The ult tracking so on point. In the fight before they were dealing with the Venom stall, we just see Leo on that Mantis and Smashness on the Starlord run Lapsis down before the Invis could build that Invis boundary and use it on point to stall long enough for OGC to start building up the ultimate bank. Absolutely huge plays. The fact as well that Smashness went on purpose into the Eternal Bond tick damage from Name so that he could, with the Blaster Barrage, get the connection to as many players as possible and supercharge up that Galactic Legend to have on the board before OGC built either the Boundary or the Rage of Ultron, which could have been the thing that turned the fight around.
Wasn't overly aware that Leolas had that Mantis in him. Seems like it's very much the case here. This was crazy, by the way. The combined damage to just burn through that invisible boundary so easily. The damage boost on the Galactic Legend is just absolutely deadly to behold. And even though we did see OGC make some spirited attempts at the recontest, it feels like Smashness is just in a league of his own with the pocket that he's getting.
And look at the wraparound rotation too. Perfectly understanding when they went for that Captain America play. Lapsus has invisible boundary, but OGC are playing the Invis woman not on the point. They're trying to box themselves in so that they can receive as much healing as possible from the triple strategist line. So you either run at the Invis and force the invisible boundary off of the point, which means that FaZe would just disengage it and take control of the objective itself, and OGC are in a disadvantaged state, or you run at the Invis and she holds on to Invis boundary and you find the pick onto the Invis woman and you get free control of ultimates when it comes to the next part of that fight. I feel like FaZe, they looked at what was going really well for them in their previous matches, which was the dive when they just had 6 players look at one person and they evaporated immediately. And even though we're not seeing a full traditional 6 dive composition come through from them, they're still applying that level of target focus, which means that OGC are losing so many of these players so quickly.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need the full dive comp if you just have the dive ethos of look at one player with 6 people and just evaporate them. We'll have to see if they can maintain it, as it will be a strike back attempt for OGC on their own map pick after this break. For OGC, it's time to lock in those chlorophylls and start photosynthesizing because they need the energy to bring this one back. Down 1-0 as we move into map number 2.
Yeah, I mean, that domination, we got to see FaZe, again, go back to the dive mentality, which has been working for them, despite not being on a full dive composition. So I think for OG Seed, if they want to be able to start pulling ahead of this dive composition, at least now that we move into either Convoy or Convergence, they're going to be able to start one of those sides off on the defense and be able to clear the dive in the scouting stages, rather than having to worry about FaZe being unchecked and getting to jump directly on top of them.
All right, straight into the ban phase once again, and Winnie's been copping so many first bans for the Jeff. We'll see if it's maintained here, as OG Seed are going to have their first protect as well. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, I would imagine OG Seed are going to be making a play for this Invis woman as well to come on out, given the fact that this was where we saw that absolutely insane 54,000 heals in one 18-minute long game from a triple Vanguard strategist set up on their defense. As are we going to be seeing the Mantis be able to make it through? And indeed, yeah, there's the Invis save. The Lapsies to be able to set up, keeping OG Seed's players sustained while also being able to play around those dive components that FaZe have been liking to go for, especially in case Binary decides to go over towards that Angela.
Oh boy, time to have the Mantis protected. Is it real? I mean, the one-sided Mantis really has been kind of a story of the day so far. Yep, there it is. And the one-sided Mantis has been, I think, 100% success rate, apart from maybe that first domination map. So, like, about 80% success rate.
Well, it's going to be one-sided Mantis versus one-sided Invis. OG Seed are going to be able to build very quickly into those invisible boundaries, but FaZe, like you said, having that one-sided damage boost capabilities, plus not requiring LOS if some of their players want to play around those lane angles. And we have something like a Captain America or a Venom come on through, as Adam is going to be banned out from both of these teams. No Soulbind, no Comic Revival shenanigans either, so that you can keep stalling out that objective. Doctor Strange also still going to be in play though, Harry, so we're still going to be able to have that Peps-like strategy of holding close for the first fight, inting on the cart the second that you start losing it, and teleporting back in to guarantee you get a minimum of 3 fights, thus burning your attacker team's defensive clock entirely down.
Yeah, OG Seed also very happy with like being able to use the Storm for breaking these spawn holds, as well as that is Frost Mountain's kind of a signature hero if there had to be one. It's going to be the Luna taken away now, making sure that there's no access once again to double fate of both worlds. And say, you know what? I've had enough of that. Put that in the box. Never unleash it again.
Do FaZe get one of the better compositions? Loki hasn't been banned yet. In fact, OG Seed aren't going to be able to get the opportunity to ban Loki. So you're going to have Vibrant Vitality damage boost with the Loki and the Mantis. You're also going to have damage boost coming on through from Mantis, Pocket from Ultron, and that means that Smashness is going to be absolutely free on either Phoenix or Torch.
Sounds dangerous. What gets taken away last from OG here? Maybe an EMEA, maybe... let's have a look. He could have for one-sided Ultron, which, given that Frost Mountain does like to play the Storm, yep, it's going to be the one-sided Ultron. And that could be real troublesome.
OG Seed, though, we've seen them go for the Groot composition with the Winter Soldier, as well as that Cloak and Dagger. They're on the attack this time around, so I wonder if we do see the Cloak and Dagger come on through from Nami, given the fact that OG Seed saved on purpose the Invis and that Luna, so they do have a good triple strategist lineup. But on the defense, I would expect that we're going to be getting that Cloak and Dagger still with the Terror Cape to be able to play off of the vulnerability setup.
I mean, Terror Cape plus Vibrant Vitality Lamp plus Mantis damage boost?
Yeah, but you sacrifice, if you go for the Cloak and Dagger over the Invis, you sacrifice survivability against the dive, because as we've talked about to all of the strategist players when they've come to do the interview, they've said that, yeah, Invis is one of the hardest strategists other than maybe Ultron, who has the highest amount of dive counterability, given the fact that he's literally up in the air. You can't dive on top of him, because she can just immediately turn herself invisible, and you have absolutely no idea where she is. You have to just try and shoot the air in the hopes that you manage to hit the hitbox.
Yep, you can dream, and he'll just be up there in the sky, waiting to get points down by Phoenix. It is going to be, once again, the rocket coming out here from Leolas to make sure the battle recall beacon is ready to go and return any fallen comrades to the battle.
Well, we get the full Vibrant Vitality team up, and OGC are going to be getting the full Moon Knight speedrun strategy for the Hand of Khonshu off of the back of all of those Loki doppelganger clones. That means that FaZe are going to have to be very worried about Hand of Khonshu combined with Strangling Prison for this first fight.
Oh, that's Sentient Siege. That's a lot of burst damage. Passionist has to be careful, though, not to get isolated by a wall here. The Ironwood comes up behind the opposing Groot, but Gainer quickly finds it borne on through by the remainder of their team. A Goddess boost activated. The damage boost is good. They round upon the Emma, but it seems like she's holding her own in the 3 versus 1. Just a spinning kick and a dream, a strangling prism. And guess what? The Eternal Bond is too damn late to save those who are caught within. Only one shall stand up against this, and FaZe already have all of their ultimates ready to go.
I mean, FaZe might just get aggressive so that OGC don't manage to find the setup of the Groot and the Moon Knight at the same time. In fact, Binary with the Meteor Ram could potentially eat the Strangling Prison when Gain has been able to build it. Out comes the Hurricane first from OGC, now putting pressure onto the backline, forcing out that Soul Resurgence, and Smashnez looks to keep the space claimed with the Psionic Seduction setting up for Binary's dunk onto Lapses through the fate of both worlds.
Lapsis or Tearlas can't stand up to that. There was the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier to make sure there was ever more damage available from that big charge on the Meteor M. And so Binary once again stands on business in main, ready to receive OGC, who do have the big combo.
Strangling Prison, but it has to get through all of the shielding from both this Emma and that Magneto. Smashnez falls low. The Terror Cape set up from Nave. Finally, they find the catch. There's the Hand of Khonshu combination onto the Loki, but I believe it only manages to pick up Oasis fully.
Yeah, and they might well find a battle recall beacon coming up once again soon. Winnie coming up close to Brawl and keeping this point contested as well. In the back, that's quite the position for a Rocket Raccoon, and Leo's going kind of crazy on it. Someone called Animal Control. What is going on in New York with these raccoons? They're feasting on the greatest of garbage.
Here comes the Strange Portal, though. FaZe going to be making a play for this next fight. They've got Psionic Seduction as well to find the connections onto OGC before a defensive ultimate's been brought up. Can they still let the attacker's side and reclaim all of this space? There's damage boost coming up through. Binary going lower and lower off of damage alone as OGC don't have the projectiles to get absorbed, but the mag is back off of the BOB.
And you saw the regeneration domains used for the extra damage boost as well. The second of mine start to be grabbed by the Emma Frost. FaZe, what a turnaround there, despite losing Binary midway through the Meteor M.
OGC, once again, though, with that Hurricane, are going to be able to put the pressure onto the backline, which is why we're seeing FaZe not go all that aggressively forward. All of those shields can interfere with the damage that the Storm's able to do to be able to keep the backline fully up.
Looking towards the back. I'm not sure if the regen domain is going to be up once again yet. And with the C used, Frost Mountain really is facing a risk here. Seems like Loki's going to be able to duplicitously escape. A quick swap over here. And that's going to be 2 players stunned. Soul taken from body and body rent from reality. As OGC are running low on time.
They're not running low on ultimates, at least, but FaZe, by holding up close, are once again going to be able to tax the approach of OGC when it comes to those ultimates. So if OGC win this next fight, they might well lose the war when it comes to time bank.
He's just going to back off here, trying to hold the bridge for as long as possible, knowing that other players have to drop off and keep this one contested. Going down to hold it now. The Strangling Prism was up top. Oasis is caught within it. KQ with a Crescent Blade can carve through Mantis's healing. Abu, who walled away from the match for now, and so was unable to really get what they want off the back of that one. Almost a body block coming through from Gainer, but instead the ult goes nowhere. Still, Winnie dances ceremoniously on top of the Fantasticar, proclaiming victory as Leolas gets a quick double. The Rocket Raccoon damage, it's a surprising amount when he gets up close, and FaZe look indomitable on their defense.
Winnie found the copy onto the Luna. FaZe aren't even running the Luna. That was OG Seed's own Luna Snow that he's able to find the God of Mischief doppelganger on too, which means that he just flicks over to the damage boost, 40% amp coming on through, and OG Seed, it's overtime. They have no choice but to eat all of the incoming damage, and that means that that convoy is going to be stalled before it even finds the first checkpoint. OG Seed now have to rely on a stalwart defense, but as we've said, this team is no slouch when it comes to sustaining a triple Vanguard lineup.
Yeah, this team, if they had an expertise, OG Seed, it would be in making sure that 3 Vanguards can stay up with raw throughput of pure healing energy. And that's why Lapsis Atilas is going to be sitting ready on the Invisible Woman.
KQ, not going to be on that Winter Soldier for since you have the Strangling Prison. This is full stall strategies. That's going to be Magneto that we see him rolling out on, but Name still going to be playing on that Cloak and Dagger rather than the Luna. Yes, you're going to be sacrificing the Idol Aura and the Pierce coming on through from the Shift, but Cloak and Dagger with the AoE of the Reach of Primary is going to be able to do so much more sustainability. Plus, if Winnie tries to go for a copy of the Loki ultimate, you've still got the mag to be able to shut down the Eternal Bond.
Okay, a little rollout with a damage boosted Widowmaker and back to spawn.
Oh, smash those? Yeah, there we go.
It was fun while it lasted. There's a storm.
OG Seed not going to be losing one of those players to that little bit of Gorgonzola strategies coming on through from FaZe, but they have lost control of the first corner, which sets Leo up to an absolute blinder of an angle. He's already 70% to the first ultimate.
Gainer grabbed early and Leolaz ready to unleash the wrath of Khonshu. Khonshu disapproves of 3 Vanguards. He'll make his displeasure known in good time. As ready, the ult is looking towards the back. Do they want to try and wait for a combo here? Rose is already 80, 90%. So they're ready for the wombo here.
They're already in final play territory.
Now, yep, there it is. And there's the hand of Khonshu. Farewell to OG Seed, for we barely knew the on the defense. It's going to be a last-second recontest, of course, coming back off the Doctor Strange, but already the damage is so thoroughly done.
The problem for OG Seed is even if they go for the Strange Portal into Invis boundary setup, FaZe are just going to be able to, with the damage coming on through from the Hurricane and a potential blind from Winnie, put a stop to all of that sustainability. They don't even get the opportunity. The seed is felled before it can grow into a tree, and FaZe walk away with Midtown, a map which OG Seed really thought would come in strong for them, given the fact that they themselves chose to start off on the attack.
Oh, that's tough. Tough there for OG Seed, but FaZe understanding their win conditions so well. Dude, how does Rosa build up ultimates so fast on the group? Putting out crazy amounts of damage. Leolaz with the pivot here onto the damage boosted Moon Knight. Definitely hyper valuable. And it feels kind of bad because OG Seed, it really did seem like the Storm strats were their bread and butter. Frost Mountain is a very difficult Storm to try and match, but really the group play from Rosa has been phenomenal. Sublime.
I mean, Rosa coming on through, especially on the attack, there was very little wall breakage that OG Seed actually had available to them. They were constantly on the back foot too because they lost one person early, which meant that they had to wait and stabilize their position until the BRB could bring them back into the fold, and then they gave up ground and gave up ground and gave up ground to the point that we actually, instead of seeing the fight break out around first corner, develop into literally right outside the finish line, which means that that Strangling Prison comes on for Leo entirely unchecked on the high ground, has the bird's eye angle to send out the Hunt of Khonshu, and OG Seed are just entirely ruptured from Midtown streets off of the back of that combo.
Maybe unfair to say that Labs has got a little bit of an assist there on that big combo. Probably didn't realize that Rosa already had ultimate, went for the big pull, but it just meant that you could Tokyo drift by and lay down the ultimate in the midst of the enemy team. Like, oh, so you're bringing me to you. Excellent.
You have to remember as well that because they managed to get the Mantis, it's not just the Moon Knight who's going to be getting damage boosted, it's the Groot too. So the longer those walls stay up, the more damage they're going to be able to do, the faster Strangling Prison is going to be able to build. So you're either utilizing it to catch the disengage and set up for your Moon Knight, or you're catching the disengage and staggering out more players from OG Seed so that when the Strange Portal comes through, they have to wait longer for the regroup, and you get more distance for free on the objective, which was very, very close already to where it needed to go off of the amount of space that OG Seed gave up from the threat of the damage one-sided boost alone.
I mean, analysts can be ready to feast on what was presented by the first free corner coming from that damage boosted Widow. Changed everything. Whether they could one fight through it. They're already in last fight territory. We'll see if OG Seed can recover from this traumatic, this significant emotional event after this break.
Well, hello once again, Rivals. My name is Diatonic, and I've got your after-action report for the second week of the Marble Rivals Ignite Asia Group Stage. Zero Tenacity were back in action to kick things off for Week 2, taking on Down Payment in the opening match. Z10 looked clean on Map 1, but Down Payment would claw their way to a reverse sweep, defeating Z10 2-1. Incipients were still on the hunt for their first group stage win as they took on U-Inks next, and they'd get themselves on the board with a big 2-0 win here. Rounding out this first day of Week 2 was yet another marquee matchup, the fated rematch between Stage 1 champs Reject and the newly rebuilt Gen G. Though the players have changed, the story was yet again one of triumph for Reject as they take the series in a close 2-1 showdown. The second day of Week 2 started off with a match between veteran team Assemble Fire, who are still in search of their first group stage win, against Incipients. But Incipients had picked up some steam here in Week 2 as they won their second game of the week in a close 2-1 bout. Down Payment also continued their winning streak, taking their third win in a row over Rocket University in a big 2-0 sweep. Onside Gaming looked to keep their dominance alive in the next match as well, taking on U-Inks and walking away with a clean 2-0. And in the final Day 2 matchup, Zero Tenacity went head-to-head with the Vietnamese squad OEG. It was a tough draw for OEG, and they'd fall victim to Z10 2-0. Day 3 kicked off with a showdown between frontrunner team Crazy Raccoon and Onside Gaming, with CR continuing their flawless group stage campaign with yet another 2-0 win. We had a heavy hitter matchup between Gen G and Zero Tenacity next, one that Gen G would walk away the victors from with a complete 2-0 shutout. XOXO01 and Incipients stepped onto the field next, and XO would lock in their playoff position here with a big win over Incipients. We ended the day on a very interesting matchup between Reject and Rocket University, with Rocket actually managing to take a map off Reject. But the only 3-map series of the day would go Reject's way in the end. The final day of the Asia Group Stage began with two Legacy Ignite competitors, XOXO01 and Assemble Fire, a matchup that XO would win handily 2-0. Reject were back up against Down Payment, and the Stage 1 champs would emerge victorious here, also 2-0. Crazy Raccoon had their last match against U-Inks and would complete a perfect run through the group stage with yet another 2-0 win. And finally, the group stage would close with Gen G taking on OEG, with Gen G picking up the last win of the week. And after 2 weeks of group stage action, the Asia playoff picture was locked in. From Group A, Crazy Raccoon, XOXO01, Onside Gaming, and Incipients advanced to the playoffs. And from Group B, Reject, Gen G, Down Payment, and Zero Tenacity all make it through. The competition in the Asia region is looking hotter than ever, with only the top 2 teams qualifying for the Grand Finals LAN tournament later this year. Well, that's all for now, Rivals. I hope you caught your breath because we're about to dive right back in. Get ready to ignite the battle.
Quote an icon, we're on the highway to the danger zone right now, and the danger zone is certainly where OG Seed are. Match point for FaZe, as OG Seed once again get to pick our map mocks, and we're going to be heading to a convergence. But which one?
I think we're both under agreement that probably the smart play would be to go Symbiotic Surface, since we saw earlier in the first series, Jeff isn't as much as a problem on Symbiotic Surface, so you can forego the first ban on Jeff and instead remove the Mantis, which FaZe have been really leveraging to having that one-sided damage boost and pumping out the numbers in terms of building up those ultimates and hitting those breakpoints far easier than OG Seed with that target focus, and indeed it is going to be Symbiotic Surface. And we're still going to be seeing, though, the insta-ban on the Jeff rather than the Mantis. OG Seed, though, do get the opportunity to save before FaZe, which means that if they want to go Mantis here, they do get the opportunity.
Question is, do they have a Mantis player? I don't know if we've seen KQ or Frost Mountain flex over to that previous. I know KQ's played a good amount of Ultron and Adam. Are they going to save the Ultron here? But I can't help but feel that OG Seed, they're kind of... They're doing the Einstein thing, you know? Doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, this might well be Mantis ban into one-sided Mantis save, as this is not the MSC ban structure, this is the Ignite, which means these bans are not universal. They are purely targeted at your opponent. So if you guarantee yourself one-sided Mantis, you have such an advantage in taking those fights. On your defense, you're always going to be able to pre-fire into the attackers too, so you can find picks on that rotation. And then on the attack, you can literally put the pressure, the threat of how much damage FaZe can do to prevent OG Seed from going into Brawl, which then converts into free point presence without having to go for a fight.
All right, Adam banned out as well. A lot of his tertiary strategists have been removed. I'd love to see maybe a Loki ban come through here, given that Winnie's an absolute monster on it as well. This is going to be the pick for FaZe. They decide maybe we get... Okay, Luna. Okay, this is going to force for Loki ban. You must ban Loki now.
That frees up so many other things that the Mantis and the Luna can now pocket.
Yeah,
like the Phoenix.
Bad choices only, unfortunately.
It's a lose-lose situation. It's not so much between a rock and a hard place as between the edge of a cliff and the edge of a mountain. There's not going to be a fun time for OG Seed. I mean, they have to remove the Venom, but as we said, that frees up so many things for that Mantis to give the pocket over to. You've got Namor open, you've got Phoenix open, you've got Torch open. OG Seed just have to play for a really good defensive hold now, with a triple strategist line of the Invis and the Ultron, and potentially that Cloak and Dagger if they make a play for it.
Maybe you ban out the Johnny here just to try and nerf Frost Mountain a little bit. Okay, it's going to be the Emma which is taken away, which is going to give over a lot of space to a potential diver.
Not just that, but FaZe can now just steamroll. Emma stops Rush. So FaZe with the one-sided damage boost and that Luna pocket are going to be able to, if they want, have advantage in the 6 versus 6 rushdown fights, or they can play for the pocket, that longer rotation, high value Phoenix around the side with something like a crossfire from that Namor. And I think that's actually a really good coverage of all of their bases, because one big criticism that the Hulk Namor has faced is the speed, right? The fact that if your opponent decides to go first and force you to play second, that off angle hasn't been developed in time and the rest of your team gets walked into.
Yeah, you don't want to get 4v6 while your Namor is off elsewhere, nursing an off angle, ready to try and make it into something worthwhile. As we head over to Symbiotic Surface, this is going to be OG Seed's last chance to prove that they can make it to Atlanta, that they can go to DreamHack, that they can attend Worlds and represent EMEA on the biggest stage in Marvel Rivals history.
Here's another reason why OG Seed wanted to take us over to Symbiotic Surface. It's a very strong map for Groot, with all of those enclosed hallways being able to isolate these players inside those Groot walls into Strangling Prison, combined with that Kraken Impact, as KQ is indeed going to be over towards the Winter Soldier. If FaZe decide to stack on up, the Tainted Voltage is going to be able to set up that Kraken Impact incredibly quickly. As we can see, Leo's POV, yeah, it's just going to be Seeds all over the shop, full damage boost and heal pocket onto Smashnez, who's going to be pre-firing in before OG Seed can rotate their backline safely inside the room.
Oh, VIP treatment here for the Phoenix. Smashnez looking at all of those players clumped up together. It's just sparks galore to be generated. What a pull onto the Magneto. Binary finds himself in a dangerous situation, and that's KQ already showing exactly why there's so much to be seen from the Winter Soldier. If only you're brave enough to pick up Bucky from Barnes to make something work. KQ looks over towards Smashnez. Still there's going to be a lot of early progress on the point. The first tick given away, and the casualties have mounted on up. Oasis turns around, gets a quick freeze. I think that there may well have been some help from elsewhere to try and take down Frost Mountain.
I mean, FaZe aren't going to make a play. Ooh, for that strange portal.
Disgusting.
So they could have a better setup on second, but lacking that Luna is really bad news for the longevity of the second hold, because now the Luna's not going to be there to give Snowflake over to things like the Phoenix. You're one strategist down, and you have to vie for control of that high ground hold, which OG Seed are going to be able to push on through with both of their strategist ultimates built up, as well as the Kraken Impact to play off of the slow that it forces.
Regen domain used. That's going to be slows given as players disengage from inside of the boundary. Remember, one of the things that's a weakness of Loki is that when these doppelgangers are up, it's again and again for the Kraken Impact, but KQ has ready to go. Gainer could even stack them up here with a cheeky usage of a Strangling Prison as they come on up. Oh, freeze! Midway through the unbelievable stuff there. I don't know if Winnie or Oasis was responsible, as they're both on the Luna right now, but they're both bloody good at it. And KQ now sees the opening still with the Eternal Bond on the backside. Smashnez waiting for players to be grabbed on in. Their minds are controlled, but their bodies are still their own. Leolaz and Winnie fall by the wayside. Frost Mountain takes to the stars, and they can't quite disengage. A map knowledge gap potentially. They're going to be chased down by Smashnez. They do manage to finally get away into the loving arms of their backline.
Oh, it's not a full disengage either, which means that KQ still got space to try and use this Kraken impact, punish the fact that FaZe don't have a defensive ultimate. And like you pointed out, winning with those doppelgangers is going to provide so many windows for resets to come on through, but that's a big pick. Leo finds the Phoenix. In OGC now missing one of their duelists, have a big decision to make. Picking the Mantis might provide the win opportunity, and out comes the Invis boundary onto the objective to try and find the slows into FaZe.
Leo punished once again. It's into the Vanguard. Oh, they just evaporate. They're gone, reduced to atoms, dust where once meat stood. And FaZe, they're gonna have to TP back via Leolas.
Yeah, but FaZe, they don't have an ultimate outside of this Meteor to try and hold that space. They're looking as well to get fully blocked off of it, with Gainer jumping through that portal and using those Groot walls to stop FaZe from botting through.
Flanking away with Rotter Stern. They can't charge up this Meteor M. It goes awry. The Wolves were in the way. Gainer defends their backliner, making sure the Eternal Bond will be secured. And Winnie's got nowhere to go but into the loving arms of a Boohoo. And that's a metallic cuddle you don't want to remember.
OG Seed, though, with this Groot on third, fights open up massively in terms of geography of this part of the map. So the Groot was going to be losing a little bit of value in comparison to first and second. Still providing additional cover, though, for Nami to safeguard out those Eternal Bonds. Smashnez over towards that Namor, playing the off angle, already having that Horn of Proteus bolt on up and putting the pressure so that OGC don't get to wrap around and hit the back line.
Smashnez scared of the Groot. He's really hard to break on through, and your wall break isn't amazing if you happen to be that Namor. Smashnez once again has just been rounded upon here. Doubled up onto Oasis, trying to shut them down. It wasn't even during the fate of both walls. They're just Luna Snow haters. By any means necessary, remove her from my map. A turnaround there from Binary, unable to actually hit the Exile until it's just going to disengage back to the safety of the spawn. I think that Smashnez, I think he might be cooked.
I mean, FaZe still have that fate of both worlds to give them a leg up in terms of this sustained fight as a Boohoo comes back on the Doctor Strange with the portal. Might be able to shut off one of the angles from the spawn hole too. But OGC, they have to be so careful that they don't get hit into the strangling prison combined with the fate of both worlds. Damage boosting up the Phoenix ultimate could be curtains for this attacking team.
Rosa finally finds the opening that they have been waiting for. OG Seed. And Scuppered and FaZe, they have to hold for 3 minutes.
Ensong Inferno not needed either. They're going to be able to combine it with the Horn of Proteus for the Earthbound to mean that everyone from OG Seed is left vulnerable. As KQ does have the Kraken impact, but OG don't have the ease of setup that they did in the previous fights. No Strangling Prison to force everyone from FaZe to group on up into it. No Loki either for the Doppelgangers to give the free resets.
That's just the T-Las. Down already. OG Seed going to be low on sustainability. The Eternal Bond's going to have to make up for it as Name wants the 1v1. Hungry to go up against Winnie. Rosie with the disengage. It should be fine here as Binary's going to relieve some of the pressure, slapping them all away with flying fists of verdant fury. And a Boohoo, it's going to be the next one to fall as Binary puts their life on the line for it. They will be temporarily casualtized, and they'll be back soon.
Frost does have the Ensong Inferno, though, and a Boohoo so close to Meteor Am. Both of these teams have ult combos which are going to be able to bypass the numbers that the Stratus ultimates can do. And FaZe knows that the win condition is the Winter Soldier. So it's just going to be Strangling Prison solely on KQ so that he's anchored directly into the Horn of Proteus follow-up.
Brutality is good. You don't want to get close to that Phoenix. Smashnez says, get away from me, foul beast. And they're just going to force OG Seed out, who still have 5 ults to play with.
I mean, the big thing for FaZe is that they can continue applying this pressure and desynchronize the mag from the Phoenix, or potentially force out the Phoenix's ultimate off of the pressure just on the engagement walk-up. Invisible boundary. Winnie's is later. Out comes the Strangling Prison to try and grab them outside of it into OG Seed's own slow so they can sync up the Meteor M and the Ensong Inferno. Can they find the hit of damage as FaZe goes for the same thing and finds the connection from Leo?
Smashnez wraps around the back. The off angle is good. Binary no-sold the entirety of that Strangling Prison via the Unbreakable Guard. The shield means that they're immune to the CCing tendrils that would have grabbed them all in.
Crosses over to the Human Torch, just trying to use that spam and stop FaZe from holding as close as possible. If they stack up, it's going to be into that Pyro Prison. Gainer onto the Venom too, to swing past and provide another form of attention on a different angle. But Binary on that Hulk just gets to jump in and out of those spaces and scout and clear where the Venom could be, peeling for his backline without giving FaZe the space up.
Binary knows they can't go too far forward against these double flyers. Maybe they can try and cook an off angle here. I believe a strangling prism was thrown in towards the back. It must have been blocked by a boohoo or something. It seems like the response has been an eternal bond into the midst of phase. They have to catch the aggression, and to do that, it's for Fate of both worlds. Make sure everyone is stocked up on healing and plenty of HP. There's the damage boost. Now they never stood a chance. They're just broken under raw biomass. Giganto strikes terra firma and takes both the light and dark force with it. 2 seconds remain. A touch needs to come through. There's a member of OGC to try and convert upon this one. It's a boohoo keeping their best on the cart, healed up by the Ultron, but now it's time for a cross seal. The backline pressure's real. Smashnez getting up close and personal with Binary here as well. Name's raised up the shields as they were the first to fall on down. It's ready to become the Monster Hulk as Binary has so many options for violence and only has to pick one. Instead, a combination of damaging factors is laying upon the doorstep of OGC. The Meteor M takes to the skies. The stuns are good as well. Gainer just feeling so bloody bullied by the green giant himself. Rosa brings up walls to try and separate those who contest the point from those who do not and heal from the back. But it seems like FaZe at the moment are unwilling to overextend to try and find these frags.
Yeah, OG Seed now going to have all of their numbers back. Rosa still stalling the objective, but the backline is coming under pressure from the Venom and the Star-Lord. They have to be chased out before FaZe can turn their attention to the front line. Frost got picked so close to the Galactic Legend, and now FaZe get to move into the brawl portion of that fight, bruising on through OG Seed's front line, and that is where the convoy will finish.
I've seen enough. Bring in the melee duelist. Roll up the Phoenix. OGC, they allowed Leo to close the distance, and then it's just animation cancels, spark explosions, and undeniable force of will from the cosmic power of the Phoenix. But still, for OGC, this is a turnaround in terms of their efficacy. 2 points and most of third means that FaZe do have their work cut out for them here to try and win this map.
Yeah, but one-sided damage boost. That's where it's going to come into play, Harry, when you want to play aggressive and just roll over the opponent. As we've seen Smashnez, there is actually a potential that they lock this magic, even if it's just off of a portal coming on through from Rosa so that they can find the chain onto OG Seed's 2 players, and Name isn't going to be able to break out with the Dark Teleportation, and you lose both the Cloak and Dagger and Adam Self-Res within the first stages of the fight, which means that Karmic Revival, if it comes up, is so much easier to be able to counter.
Please tell me this isn't
Yeah, the Karmic Revival is going to be such a big factor when it comes to the overall fight planning for these teams. It's really going to test FaZe's communication efficiency during a fight with significant longevity.
Name is actually anticipating the Strange Portal. They're already going to be starting out in cloak form, so that if they get jumped upon, they're going to be able to use the Dark Teleportation and manage to dodge away the Magic's team up with those chains coming on through.
Got it?
Chains of Cyttorak could ring out this day. Smashnez has a potential damage boost here. Maybe looking for a Widow kick? Okay, there it is. For Chains of Cyttorak ready to go. The magic invades already. The Leolas is on the Mr. Fantastic. Hello, Reed Richards. Welcome to Competitive Marvel Rivals. It has been forever.
Yeah, this is the first time we're getting to see it in the EMEA meta. Smashnez on that magic, rotating all the way around, having to avoid all of that. Poke comes in with the stepping discs into the chain right on the Vanguard. And FaZe are looking to just take the fight against all of the front line, force the Soulbind, and then walk onto the point.
Soulbond already used the piercing factor of this. Is so crazy to try and deal with. They're together, which means they're sharing out the damage. And Leolas cleaves as well. Knowing what you're going up against, this team's going to be playing tight. Why not play for the pierce and play for the melee? FaZe get it done with an unconventional strat. That's Reed Richards thinking.
FaZe going to show the value of surprising your opponent. KQ now is going to be over to the Winter Soldier, not just for the hook, but also to have the shield break as well as the Earthbound status of the new and improved Trooper's Fist. There's OG Seed going to be looking to just lay out as many stuns as possible, but look at Smashnez, he's already on that right side. The second OG Seed take the elevator, they're going to be slowed into the Infest Bound into all of the follow-up from the magic in the close quarters, and all of that melee damage goes through all of the shield.
And that's why Chains of Cyttorak is already copping it. Oh no, that's going to be a brutal stagger there onto Frost Mountain. And look at how much space they're claiming as well.
Yeah, the brutal thing as well for Nami in this next fight with the Eternal Bond is if Smashness manages to find the uppercut, they're going to be off of the AoE coming on through from their own healing.
Okay, they're kind of just styling on him right now. FaZe, they control all of the angles, forcing out Lepsis or Telas to use that ultimate even before they've got into the building itself. Still rolling forward in elastic form to try and turn this around. The Brainiac bounce is ready to go, by the way. Don't think I'd ever be able to say that, but Leolaz isn't in turn to use it. The Dark Child shut on down. Survival of the Meteor M, yes, but the remainder of FaZe, not quite so lucky. No, Leo gave up the Brainiac bounce. Coward!
Yeah, it's comp swap time. That's a comp that you can use when you're in control of the space and on the first walk up, especially off of a strange portal, because you're not taking all of the entry spam damage coming on through. You've lost control of the space now. Your magic is going to get picked apart before she can even close up the distance to put the melee damage into work. So Smashness goes over to the Namor, Leo onto the Phoenix to punish OG Seeds, trying to hold onto this high ground stack. And if the body is a stacked, Leo stacking the ult charge already ends on Inferno from the first fight.
That takes care of Namor's squids.
Building up real quick, but Gainer stands ready as well with their own Strangling Prison.
Strangling Prison into either Ensong Inferno or Kraken Impact coming on through. OGC trying to shut down these off angles as well, but Gainer has to be so careful not to overextend, because that means that the Invis boundary is going to be there to separate the Groot even further from the team.
The balls on the slows, it's nasty. Again, it doesn't quite get a little squeeze off the back of their Thorn Lash Wolf. They rose in turn. Inside of the invisible boundary, Leolaz a little bit slow. Has to be careful about trying to take a duel against their compatriot here. Frost Mountain got both the backliners showing off their mechanics, not just a Storm. A hit scan god as well before my eyes. Leolaz takes out Nabi. Wait, they managed to turn it around somehow without the heals. They were doing it just on borrowed time, on borrowed health, and on borrowed energy. But the energy still seems good as Frost Mountain lays so much thermal energy down upon the god of the depth binary. Punishes Frost Mountain for such audacity.
Wallbreaker Hulk meant that FaZe actually kept a hold of the space. They've still got the high ground for Leo to have the angle and spam damage into OGC, dodges the Strangling Prison. However, the strategist on the low ground, not so lucky. Both Winnie and Oasis goes down to the Kraken Impact. And from the back of that, OGC stabilize and recover.
Now OGC have to try and figure out how they deal with Strangling Prison and Horn of Proteus.
Well, it might be deal with the group first. Force physics into wall isolation follow-up from Gainer, and there is no LOS for FaZe, the strategist, who was still coming back from respawn. Okay. Delaying that now means that OGC have a little bit more time, but Leo, yeah, like you said, all the way behind is going to be now managing to find the conversion onto the objective and threatening the back cap. OGC, if they haven't noticed this could be awful.
Okay, yeah, they're going to turn it on back here. Leolaz likely has been able to escape easily into the back rooms once again, going in for a duel with Frost Mountain. Look at this. The backup comes through just in time from Binary, but they didn't expect for KQ to be here as well. And so Binary gets punished off the back of this one. And down a Vanguard now, Rose is going to be even more vulnerable to something like a pull.
FaZe, though, they've got control of the high ground, and they've also got an off angle into the back line, which means that OG Seed are going to have to play their players a little bit further to the right, while also keeping Gainer controlling that left side, making sure that FaZe don't find an in with either the Phoenix or the Namor. Strangling Prison follow-up for FaZe is on the table, which means OG Seed have to track where Rosa will be. Big Meteor M from Abu, who manages to find the eat on the Strangling Prison, but FaZe commit the Horn of Proteus regardless.
Smashness blocks the Meteor M 1-for-1 when it comes to blocks, but nothing off the Horn of Proteus still. KQ's fallen down, but Binary traded out on the other side. So now with Rosa being a solitary Vanguard, they could find themselves in difficult positions. Leolaz floats above it all, waiting for a target to present itself. A quick Tokyo Drift, but the bank's no good. And the direct hit ain't coming. Oh, the big use of the Strangling Prison. It's absolutely full to the brim with inmates as Warden Gainer says, I've had enough of your insolence.
I mean, Nami's assists have been going hard. We've been seeing so many players getting hit by those terror capes, followed up by all forms of damage, whether it's ultimates or whether it's just base abilities upon the connection of those Groot's ults. And FaZe now, it looked incredibly dominant from that first aggressive push into that second couple of fights on second, but now they're down to sub a minute, Harry. And they're going to be having to play once more into a defense that has full control of the high ground.
This is well and truly the danger zone. I mean,
you're getting true mileage from that one.
What can I say? I love a good highway. Honestly, what a pull from there. Abuhu eating up the strangling prison like it was a risky play from Rosa to like yeet that across the way, because it allows for reaction speed to deal with those things a lot more easily. And Abuhu was so on point when it came to that. And so Gainer just saw the opening afterwards. Like, even with the Meteorem itself being shut down by Smashnez body blocking it with the Blessing of the Deep, which is one of the better things an Amor can do, if they feel like they're going to have a sustainability from both of their strategists to not need that later, still, too much was given up to make that happen, and they didn't get value off the Horn of Proteus.
I mean, we've even seen as well the amount of pressure they'll put Smashnez into on that Namor when he's having to take the group 1 versus 1 on the third fight for defense. They're really putting the pressure on the Namor to try and force that cooldown, which means that it's not there to block out the hit of the Meteorem onto both of their strategists when the ultimate cycle comes on through, and that one-shot capability is absolutely invaluable.
We look upon Symbiotic Surface and wonder what Null would think of all of this. Because if they get through second, which is by no means guaranteed, I'm pretty sure there's still a defensive portal to try and play with if someone falls early.
Yes.
Still have to get through about 2/3 of last. And that means getting through the pseudo underpass, through that carapace of a fallen creature. And that is a very difficult area to get around because it allows so many easy off angles to be established by the defense.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it when FaZe were on the defense, right? It was why we saw them be so determined to keep the fight going and not fully have to reset, because like you said, it provided such an easy in to that backline to put pressure onto both the Cloak and that Invis. Speaking about easy ends, Portal comes on through, Unbreakable results for the Hulk to safeguard everybody, and Binary just melts KQ. No Kraken impact, no Winter Soldier to punish FaZe.
This is why we glazed the Binary Hulk. Unbelievable value here, getting multiple exiles out. And here comes the recontest from Gainer straight away with the portal.
I mean, OG Siege, they don't have defensive ultimates to use the second that this portal comes on through. Neither does FaZe, though. Oasis and Winnie's so far away, so it really is going to come down to the damage and the angles that are controlled by both. Smashnez with the Kraken impact could go absolutely huge.
Into Inferno, looking good. Multiple stuns come on through here from Rosa. Smashnez getting up close and personal, but it's KQ who's already got both of the strategists in the back. No more healing. Frost Mountain says, you aren't strong enough to summit me. My heights get ever higher, and my plant will grow much stronger. Rosa stands alone, raising a shield for Seraphim, but someone needs to be on the point at all times. Overtime starts to tick away, and Binary's invited back to the fray by Absisotilas, who just burns on through, and OG Seed refused to kneel quietly and bend before FaZe.
OG Seed just needed to win one fight to be able to force the swap from the Strange onto the Magic. That is a composition that relies on momentum and surprise within the first engagement, and the second that you're able to beat it, the swaps have to come on through, and that is one of the advantages of defending Symbiotic Surface, taking momentum and the wind out of the sails of the attacking team. You get access to all of that tasty high ground and all of the setup for KQ and Frost Mountain on the Winter Soldier and the Phoenix, who did so much damage, despite the fact that they were going up against one-sided Mantis damage boost.
Well, they were going up against one-sided Mantis damage boost, and it wasn't really used a lot of the time. Like, we saw Leolas here in this part of the map bring it out, but it seems like we didn't see it ubiquitously for FaZe. Specifically, Leo had to swap over onto the Strange to get a portal back. They moved over back to this classic 2-2-2 to make sure that the Leolas and Smashnez could find those off angles. And I think it served them well on the defense, but I would have liked to have seen Leolas use a little bit more of the Mantis, a pivot to it maybe after the Mr. Fantastic on the offense.
I think the worry for them, was because KQ swapped over to that Winter Soldier. If you're trying to fully utilize that damage boost coming through from the Vibrant Vitality, that means that you field Loki as well for the damage boost of the regen domain, and so all of the doppelgangers are just going to provide free reset windows coming on through. Plus, if you go for the Mantis, then you're having to hope that your Mantis is going to be able to reliably hit those headshots to keep the seeds refreshed. Yes, you're going to be able to headshot the Groot fairly easily, but the rest of the components of OG Seed's composition are not going to let that Mantis get all of the regeneration of those resources, so we wouldn't be seeing the unparalleled aggression running away with FaZe's components.
I mean, KQ was also playing out of their mind right there. Abuhu with the eat on the using a meter ram to absorb what should have been a wombo combo. Probably was like the big turning point for that defense as well, and really being able to find the stability after forcing that comp swap as well, making sure that they couldn't really convert on their first round of refreshed ultimates. We'll see if OG Seed can keep the momentum going and take us to a map number 5 right after this break.
Smoke screen! I'm hunkering down. Judge! Jury! Executioner!
FaZe may have fumbled for spaghetti and dropped it on the floor, but have OG Seed mummered their last meal? Because it's still match point here for FaZe, and now Mox, they get to pick where we go with a reset map pool.
I feel like it's going to be domination, and I feel as well like FaZe's best choice would be to go Hell's Heaven and just go all in on the 2-2-2 dive compositions. We've seen teams struggle. The fact that OG Seed were able to reset and stabilize their entire momentum meant that they were able to chip away at the composition as they walked into those re-engages, forcing ultimates, forcing as well everybody from the side of FaZe to have to react into things like early hooks coming on through from that Winter Soldier. Also meant that Name's ultimates and Terror Capes were absolutely huge. 44 assists on the Cloak and Dagger, by the way, coming off of that map. And it is going to be a domination, but it's not going to be Hell's Heaven. It is going to be Celestial Husk. So Dive, incredibly strong on this map. Flyers, incredibly strong on this map. Adam Rescomp, incredibly strong on this map. What do you want to play
Incredibly
into?
strong on this map.
Jeff, indeed, incredibly strong on this map. And we're going to have to see a lot of these bans target out specific ways to play this map type.
What's it gonna be, OG Seed? Pick your poison. Is it up against one-sided Mantis again? Or do we risk potentially having the Adam banned away from us, or even the Invisible Woman, given how good Lepsi Sotilas has been? It's going to be the Ultron, the choice made. And so, well, we know how this one goes.
Yeah, I mean, this is the safest bet coming in through when you're playing up against a team like FaZe. You know, if they run that dive, having the Ultron being able to go head-to-head with it, plus Rage of Ultron building incredibly quickly. If it does come down to a brawl and sustained fight for control of first cap, you should get the Rage of Ultron before FaZe get their first ultimate cycle, and off of the back of that, might be able to steamroll your enemy.
Okay, time to try and neuter this composition as best you can. What do you want to remove? Ultron for one-sided Ultron. Adam, probably? Or maybe Loki. I wouldn't even mind seeing an EMEA ban at some point, but honestly, with the damage boost on the table, like, that Venom is an omnipresent threat.
I mean, you also have to worry about Binary on the Hulk, because Binary on Celestial Husk, this is one of his best maps too, coming on through. OG Seed going to be removing the Luna rather than the Adam or the Invis. FaZe now getting the opportunity to go for a save. Do they try and save a dive component here? They could go for the Venom save to make sure that Feast of the Abyss, as well as just the Venom's overall pressure, is always going to have that damage boost. Or they go for the save onto that Loki, so that, as you said, punishing the fact that OG Seed prioritized the Luna, worried about the neutral threat of the Idol Aura, as well as the ultimate amp and sustainability from Fate of Both Worlds. Now they're going to have to contest with Regen Domain and the damage boost that's attached from the team up.
God, that Vibrant Vitality. It's a lot. I wouldn't mind even seeing a Winter Soldier ban here from FaZe, given that it did give OGC a little bit of an edge, and it is very strong against for Loki. KQ is unleashed with that Kraken impact.
Well, OG Seed removing the Adam so that we don't see a copied Adam, and the back-to-back comic revivals that we got to see on Convoy earlier, which on Domination, the longer you're in control of that point, the longer those fights go, the better percentage you're going to be sitting at, and the more desperate you're going to force your opponent into having to torch their ultimate economy to make up for an absence of control with. As both teams remove that Adam, I feel as well like OG Seed, since Loki is in play, one way that they could actually go, especially since they were able to get the Ultron, would be to go the route of having a flyer, because Loki has long struggled into being able to heal friendly flying targets, but at the same time that means he suffers the same weakness against the enemy flyers too.
Wait, KQ pouring one out for Knudsen, perhaps? Giving him that.
I mean, Loki's going to be so bad at targeting the Iron Man off of the AoE. Like, if you ever wonder why a Loki is aiming at the ground when we follow Loki POV, it's because his primary is actually AoE based. So if you hit the ground, the more bodies you're going to be able to connect onto. But because it's AoE based and not hit scan, well, that means that trying to go head to head against a flyer who is constantly on the move makes it very hard for Lokis to be able to hit the shots unless you're in enclosed spaces and you can actually use the AoE off of walls or pillars, which we can see in places like Hell's Heaven, but not so much on Celestial Husk.
Yeah, if you're struggling on Loki, try aiming at the feet of the people you're healing more, because there's no benefit to actually healing them directly. It's all spell field effects, no impact damage/healing.
Yeah, no headshot multiplier either. Can you imagine if Loki had headshot damage?
What I do have is a backstab modifier, Moxie.
Yes, he does, but when have we ever been able to see that find in elimination?
One day, Mox. Us duplicitous clones will rise up one day.
Well, Winnie is going to be over to the Loki for the damage boost. Binary on that Venom and Smashnez on the Star-Lord, being able to try and find the launch of this dive. OG Seed also going to be looking for the dive opportunity. As far as comes the soft dive from Gainer, but Winnie doesn't rise to the bait and keeps a hold of Regen Domain for when we go to the point fight.
KQ reveals himself to Smashnez, who's getting plenty. Oh, that's a big sedation right there onto KQ from downtown. Has to do a quick flip out, and the Guardian Shield has to be allocated over to make sure that that one's survivable. Still, Smashnez thought it was winnable, and so overextended into OGC to try and make this one work. Now the sole duelist of FaZe has been taken away, and we're going to have a lot of trouble removing these Vanguards from forward positions, because the damage is just not going to be there. Binary might have to become more of a frontline duelist as a Force Physics attempts to grab them on back and continue continuing to just pull Binary in. A quick flip around the Feast of the Abyss onto their opposing Venom. Disengagement strong as Frost Mountain looks to try and burrow under the earth. An excavator frag or two with the Rage of Ultron. Still the overlaying here from OG Seed is all in as everyone puts all their resources on the line to try and gather the first cap. Leolaz gets the roll shut down. Winnie low on options. Name sees an opening here for the Eternal Bond, but Abuku can't get within the area of effect in time. Multiple souls are taken from bodies by Rosa's Eye of Agamotto as KQ looks in towards Smashnes, and Winnie is not going to be long for this world either. Cosplaying a doppelganger is not going to work out against KQ. He's too smart a cookie for it.
Oh, the Psionic Seduction when FaZe are all just forced onto that point, and then KQ the second that the inverse boundaries have been traded from either sides, with the Galactic Legend being able to track down where everyone from FaZe has sidelined themselves. Binary too, every single time they try and dive in on this Venom, is just getting absolutely accosted by the Terror Capes, given the fact that FaZe have no way of being able to cleanse it. There's no mag in play, which means that the Cloak and Dagger is coming in huge. Out comes Galactic Legend from Smashnes, guarded by the Guardian Shield coming on through from Oasis to clear the space, and finally allow FaZe through the choke onto the objective.
Oh, the healers were so suppressed right there, they just couldn't help out. Gainer, all the Feast of the Abyss into a Blaster Barrage is just deadly. What a quick comeback from FaZe.
OG Seed, though, with Rage of Ultron, are going to be able to, just the way we saw Smashnes open the space for his team with his ult, clear the choke almost entirely, as FaZe don't have an ultimate to be able to shut it down. They're going to have to rely on the triage of healing coming on through from a triple strategist and a Loki's regen domain.
Looking in towards the back, Binary has found the Ultron where he's at his most vulnerable in these low-ceilinged areas. Escape wasn't really on the cards. Tilas demands the healing of the Rage of Ultron, but Regain has already made some gains in the back. Leolaz and Winnie have fallen on down. Only the Smashnes and Rosa remain, and Rosa in a 1 versus 6 can't make it work. A quick flip back for OG Seed. Now this is back and forth Marvel Rivals.
Oh, potentially a stagger as well onto someone else from FaZe. Yeah, Winnie was able to make it out with that exchange coming on through. Rose is going to have to build up the Sonic Seduction. They've got the Galactic Legend as well in a matter of moments to be able to open that up, but that's going to be more point percentage for OG. So instead it's a reliance of Binary, swaying the attention on that Venom, going over to the point, but still OG Seed not giving up the space.
Gainer in the back, but is there going to be follow-up? No one was there to break the lamps, and so the regen domain keeps it strong and keeps it healthy. The disengage here for Gainer is good. We'll be able to feed over some strategist ultimate charge. Abuhu knows it on the approach, and Smashnes is getting involved. A Blaster Barrage and still in the back pocket. You know that he's got that Galactic Legend. Now it's time for everyone to roll on forward, courtesy of Leolaz with the Soul Resurgence. Lapsus Atilas in the back, holding in reserve. An invisible boundary to raise on up to keep FaZe and OG Seed both in good spirits and good health. Setting up for an off angle here is Smashnes around the edge, waiting for this fight to break on down, and now makes their insertion from the back instead. Easy access to the Ultron, grabbed out of the sky. Great play coming through from Abuhu, and Smashnes doesn't even know what hit him. Forged like diamonds under the crust of the earth, and that's going to be OG Seed in a commanding position to take the first domination map.
Smashnes is on the strange, but I don't think he's going to be able to set up a teleport in time. And OG Seed walk away with the first round of Celestial Husk. Having that Ultron being able to pocket the Starlord has been absolutely huge. Rage of Ultron has been clutch for this team to fill the spaces once the Starlords have traded their ultimates and inverse boundaries have been mirrored on either end. So too has Abuhu, with the Sonic Seduction being able to put so much pressure onto Smashnes' Starlord. He was having to fly low to get into the AoE of the regeneration domain, which meant that he was within grabbable distance of the Carbon Crush and just got immediately discarded the second that the Emma was able to find the pick.
Stop staring at.
I thought you should.
Now, for FaZe, the pressure's starting to mount. This was supposed to be their advantage. They have the one-sided damage boost for Smashnes. You can see that they've made a comp pivot already.
The thing for FaZe is that if they use the regeneration domain for the damage boost, they don't have it as a defensive option. And OG Seed gets so many ultimates with not pick potential on their own, but with any other bit of damage, and they are running high mobility heroes to contribute said damage. FaZe have to hold off on utilizing that damage boost as aggressively. And oh my goodness, Name has been absolutely on top of things. That was a huge Terror Cape play from the Strange Portal.
I mean, that doesn't happen too often now. Teams have gotten very cautious about those approaches, but you got to wonder what's happening in FaZe's comms right now if they're trying to figure out how to play against this. But now we've got a brand new stimulus to respond to in both the Storm and the Winter Soldier.
The thing for FaZe is that they don't have reliable shields when the portal comes on through. Venom's not going to be able to shield for the team. Strange isn't in play, and they don't have the mag curtain either, so you're relying on Rose's Aegis, but OGC can simply walk past it. And then it's going to be on cooldown, which is why we've seen so many of these Terracades hit. Off of that alone, Nana's already 60% to the first ultimate. FaZe with Rosa going onto that point, trying to draw attention for Smashness to set up an off angle and stack the damage spam onto OGC's players, namely that Storm, as Binary has to go for the dive, but there's just no follow-up.
Oh, they want Frost Mountain so bad for Dark Depredations. Get everything that's needed. Gathered up around the Guardian shield for both slows and healing. Byri's barely taking any damage here. KQ finally turns Rotterdam upon them to try and make that one work. Look at that. Tendrils everywhere, and the follow-up's good. Gainer just chomps on through, and well, it's sloppy seconds, unfortunately, for Binary coming through from behind.
That was through the invis boundary as well. 180 heals per second. Absolutely melted in the face of the attention coming on through from OG Seed. KQ is going to have the Kraken impact. If they want, they can combo it either of the Emerald Ultimate or the invis boundaries. We saw Binary just swing through on that right side, likely going to that point, and OG Seed are simply not going to allow FaZe to get space off of the back of it to walk. Out comes the Emerald Ultimate, and forward OG Seed go.
In comes an Ensong Inferno. Smashness, I don't know if really hit anyone important with that. Still, multiple players are going to be grabbed by the brain here by Emma. KQ is going to be the primary victim of this one, as big damage boost comes out from multiple regeneration domains. Frost Mountain getting in close, but now that they're down, it's time to make something work off the back of a prime impact. Still, Leolaz survives it. The healing was good enough, and no one-shot came on through. FaZe finally have everything they need to flip this point, but OGC is still accruing percentage of it. Probably going to be 99 before this goes away.
It's one fight territory, which means if FaZe lose all of their players to a stack of Kraken impacts, the round is done, and OG Seed takes Celestial Husk. We're going to have to see some very good soft dives coming on through from FaZe to give Oasis the opportunity of building up that invis boundary. We can see Binary taking a little bit of damage, just putting the pressure onto the Phoenix and likely trying to get back to his team with things like the Feast of the Abyss onto Frost Mountain. Are they just going to try and put pressure onto the Duelist?
We stuck. Might be able to get the Frenzied Arrival. There it is. Frost Mountain was just so far away from the remainder of the team. Looks like they may have taken all that time trying to disengage back to them and just walked really slowly. Who knows?
I wonder if they thought that Ensong Inferno would be up with Feast of the Abyss in this next fight. Given the fact that Gain is coming on through with the Feast of the Abyss, and OG Seed would then have two wombo combos, which FaZe would have to just choose what invis boundary would be used for.
All right, quick sedation, corrosion's good, a grab is even better. Rosa sees what KQ's game is and says, no way is that going to be happening. Rosa now blocks away the healing from the Venom in the back line. Will be given some overhealth from the Feast of the Abyss, chomping through meat and bone alike. But Smashness still being able to lord over it all and rain down these sparks from above. FaZe holding strong.
FaZe could just continue pressing the aggression too, to force the invis boundary off of the objective. OG Seed are going back in on what was working. The Ultron to be able to pocket that Starlord. Gain is going to use the Strange Portal, try and get OG Seed through the choke so they don't have to worry about FaZe's ultimates first being used to tax out the invis boundary before the point comes into play.
Frost Mountain, ever cautious of Binary, spreading out the healing of the Ultron drone. They hide behind the Aegis. FaZe off the back of this ultimate now have forced this to be the final fight, and it's going to be down on Gainer. So Abuhu's going to have to be the one who keeps this contested and doesn't really have much mobility to try and play around the outside. An invisible boundary drawn up here by OG Seed as Abuhu makes a last-ditch play, a desperate one, off the back of their ultimate to make this one work. KQ's there to follow up. The Rage of Ultron's good. Lapsiso TLS has already fallen as Frost Mountain can't quite find any victims, so instead will focus on the defensive play of keeping their team healed on up. The return of Gainer is short-lived. Even through the portal, they're rounded upon by many members of FaZe and can't win the 1 versus 6. Binary finds all of the openings, and OG Seed are not on the point. FaZe, bring it back.
1-1, and it's going to be over to Celestial Hand to determine whether or not FaZe take the series 3-1, or OG Seed could potentially reverse a sweep and keep up the pressure. They're going to be rolling out, though, this time around with that Star-Lord and that Ultron. It was working for them so well on the first round, with KQ-43 so close as well to that Galactic Legend. FaZe are going to have their hands tied when it comes to dealing with the Star-Lord's ultimate.
Dealing with Star-Lord Ultimate often can be a real tax on the mental economy and the resource economy.
Wait, they're going to give it up?
Pivot.
Yeah, I mean, Endsong Inferno charges so quickly. Going to the Phoenix, being able to retain 50% to that Endsong Inferno, and then being able to pair it with your Strangling Prison from the Groot, off of just the spam damage alone before the point caps, they're going to have it up, and it will break the Loki doppelgangers with the regen domain too.
Follow my lead.
Oh, that could be so much to try and deal with. Frost Mountain.
Frost
the
on the
Wolverine.
too.
They don't have a throw for it either. It's just going to be the singular Vanguard.
Yeah, but he's going to have the passive, and then potentially he can also pick Oasis out of their ultimate so that they can find the pick onto the Invis and cancel Invis boundary early.
That could be some real value. We know what the last stand can do against these static emplacements. Binary is getting so aggressive here. Risked being isolated, but backs off perfectly through the gap in the wall. The Eternal Bomb's going to be matching Oasis back inside, using the Invis. Oh, was that a cancel right there onto Gainer's ultimate? I think it was for sedation from downtown, so Rosa gets the better of it. Still, survivability is the name of the game here, with so many strategists around. Everybody gets their mind controlled by Binary, and despite all of the aggression coming through the way of this Emma Frost, there's still some value to be had off the back of the ultimate. Yin and Yang back and forth, the river flows on still as Rosa looks for an opening once again, and the Endsong Inferno strikes the ground. The Boohoo's next to go. A headshot gained by Leolaz, and even more so. Oh my goodness, life spores after life spores. Absolutely generational performance from Leolaz.
I mean, huge copy from Winnie as well, just as Endsong Inferno was about to detonate and clear phases. Players allowing OG Seed full control of that point. Now Rosa can just spam the seed bombs in, building up the Strangling Prison to yet again combine with Smashnez's ultimate, and they can scout the Wolverine and force the passive before the fight turns into brawl.
Smashnez sees the approach of the monstrous Wolverine, the beast in the dark. Continues to erode this space and elicit fear, but it's Legolas again! This guy's just so crazy. Oh, there's one player inside of the Strangling Prison. A follow-up's not going to be there. Binary's fallen elsewhere. Yes, it's true, but it's my turn to open up a prison, says Rosa, and mine's going to do far more business.
Smashnez is going to be able to hold on to that Endsong Inferno too, and now they might be able to find the stagger onto the Cloak and Dagger. The bait comes out though. Frost Mountain was able to find a connection, but Smashnez has the ultimate and just gets the full health reset and then can dash back to his team. And that means that FaZe are building up even more point percentage. They're going to have to look to disengage though, as Frost Mountain with that last stand can pin multiple of these players.
Yeah, going to be looking to have Oasis's ultimate forced out early here by somebody else, maybe by a Boohoo. If it gets raised up, know that Frost Mountain might wrap around the back. No, they're just going to go for the ult. One man onto Rosa here, and the invisible boundary is nowhere near. Instead, it's going to be focused on the remainder of the team. FaZe have chosen their favored child, and it certainly isn't Rosa, as Oasis decides, but it's just going to be a defensive play around the backboard. And look at this. Leolaz and Smashnez on the off angle are going to be so difficult to dislodge, but that means there are only 3 players, but 6 members of OG Seed can just rampage over, as they don't have the meat to sustain themselves.
Yeah, but FaZe stalled. 85% has been picked up. OG Seed will have enough time to go for a strange teleport, but if they try and hold close to burn the point percentage on their side, they go directly into the spacing for the Sonic Seduction coming on through from Binary. Winnie as well, the God of Mischief, can go aggressive to copy onto that Mantis and give FaZe all of the speed boost to just run over OG Seed's team.
Binary notes the potential approaches, ready to unleash their rays. Knowing that KQ's up top, that might require a little bit of personal attention. Oh, what an interrupt! Frost Mountain read him like a book! Yeah, they're going to get gets smacked into the wall, but the damage is already done. Bring up the invisible boundary, and Rose is kicked back inside. A turnaround potentially. The invisible boundary of their own, and a strangling prison. Oh, it's beautiful. Rose managed to cut off all of the heals as well. What a play coming through. The Rosa Dozer. Yeah, we call this one a difficulty tweak. You can't get it past Rosa, and that's going to be FaZe flipping in their favor as one last fight remains.
This is the silver lining of Binary getting cancelled out of Sudden Extraction. You're going to have it up for the Strange Portal fight. They're not able to cancel the TP test, but now they've got that Emerald Ultimate the second the Strange Shield is broken. FaZe get full advantage in the fight.
A Dark Maelstrom ready to unleash, and Leolaz is feeling frisky, getting nice and close and personal. The Eternal Bond gives a little bit of additional room for OGC to work with, and KQ is going to be looking to try and make this work. Binary, as you said, unleashes the Psionic Seduction, gets both of the strategists, and the follow-up is there. A solo gift for you, my son, as Rose has got yet another ultimate. The generation's crazy, and FaZe rises for OG. It's GG. The FaZe is up.
FaZe with the invis boundary as well, and that last fight for the slow, so that everyone can't disengage the Emerald Ultimate. If they try, they get hit by the slow. If they try and abandon the point, they allow FaZe to take control of it. And in overtime, that's just something that they simply cannot allow. Smashnez will walk away with the MVP, was coming through with so much of those damages, but in my opinion, FaZe's backline were the ones that were the true carry on those last couple of rounds of domination. Oasis too, within the first fight, when Binary is getting lower and lower and lower and almost goes down to Frost Mountain on the Wolverine mid-Sonic Seduction cast, he gets the Guardian Shield from his invis, which manages to bail him out long enough to force OGC into burning that invisible boundary and allows FaZe to have theirs lost.
Raw damage from Smashnez is kind of disgusting here, but that's to be expected from what was in many cases for Soul DPS with the damage boost. What clutches we saw from Leolaz, hitting the burst damage when it mattered the most, the headshots off the back of those spores coming through. And that allows for additional generation of healing and damage boost as well, so you can compound your advantages in the uneven Mantis trade.
Yeah, Winnie too, being able to come through with the God of Mischief, perfectly timing it as well to be able to come through with the copies onto the Mantis for the Solar Resurgence, so that they could literally just dump every single one of those spores. You can see Leo there getting incredibly aggressive, the regen domain as well, being able to go head to head with the amount of sustainability that OGC's Eternal Bond holds, which means that you can hold on to your invisible boundary, so that once the Cloak and Dagger's ultimate is done, FaZe have that one-sided sustainability, and even when Sonic Seduction comes on through from Binary, there's no staying power from their opponent when they're stuck in the center of it.
Yeah, Leo having this Mantis on deck as well was actually a significant evolution for FaZe, I think, because we often see Winnie's Jeff getting banned as well as Jeff just being the ban of the day. And now that you know that if you ban that Jeff, you're risking this Mantis coming out, and then Winnie being able to leverage their fantastic Loki as well. And it lets Rosa build up ultimates really fast from a Vibrant Vitality healing on the backline. It means that Mantis becoming a real priority ban against FaZe could change how the entire ban phase shakes out against them.
Yeah, I would say like Smashnez too as a pickup is really, really big for this team, because now you have to worry about things like the Human Torch and also that Star-Lord angle that we're starting to see rise in prominence in terms of meta too. Star-Lord managing to keep a check on things like the Ultron and the Human Torch. If Star-Lord and Ultron have been removed, Human Torch still a viable option to be able to put a lot of pressure with the spam damage and angles that you can hold on to. So very, very good compatibility coming on through from FaZe in terms of getting through those ban drafts without being stuck on playing one singular composition.
All right, we've got an interview ready to go with FaZe. I believe we're bringing in Oasis for this one to get some insights. Nice to see you again, Oasis. Let's have a quick chat about the map that fell through your fingers, unfortunately. What do you think went wrong on Symbiotic Surface?
I mean, we asked for a pause maybe 10 times, and we didn't get a single pause. I had to... Well, Rosa was like basically lagging out fully, even the map before. I had to go and open the door at my mom that was yelling at me because she's outside and she doesn't have the keys. So, I mean, there was a lot of like, I don't know, I've never been through like no one pausing. And we had the same issue last time, and I think that's mostly it. Yeah.
So let's talk about the Mantis, because when we started getting through the ban draft, we were expecting to see you pick it up, and then Leolas came through with it. Is there a reason why you have Leolas on the Mantis instead of yourself?
Well, it's kind of like we're thinking about putting me on Mantis, but I really think the thing with if you have a support on Luna, if I put like Leolas on Luna instead, a good Luna will make a good Mantis do more. So if we have someone that is like quote unquote like worse on Luna, he will make the Mantis play worse. And I think it's way more important for me to be on the Luna so I can make sure that Leolas plays well, because he's a DPS player, and then Mantis is the closest like support to DPS. So it's very easy for Leolas to play it. I think he also understands exactly how to play like the flank style with Mantis, because that's just something you do a lot on DPS. You flank a lot.
Yeah, definitely very smart when it comes to the versatility that Leolas has in the pool. Speaking of versatility, Paul's shenanigans aside, Mr. Fantastic and Magic, can you walk me through the MO there?
I don't know, basically, Winnie is very smart. He makes a lot of compositional choices, and it's something he likes to go because it's just very strong. You just brawl them down and they can't really react to it.
So in terms of that ban draft, I know that Winnie and Cuffy tend to do the most preparation when it comes to it. Do you think it's more valuable to instant ban the Jeff or instant ban the Mantis, or is it situation specific?
I mean, if a team doesn't have a really good Jeff player, you can get away with banning Mantis. But at the top tier level, you shouldn't. If you're a top team, you shouldn't not be good at Jeff. That's it's almost kind of not allowed. You just have to put in the hours, however much it takes. You can't really allow yourself to not be good at it.
Well, we've certainly noticed that you guys have put in the hours. Congratulations on the win, Oasis, and advancing further towards Atlanta. We hope to get to talk to you again soon.
I hope so too, man. See you later.
Okay, that was Oasis Strategist Superstar coming through from a phase victory. And Mox, that means our elimination matches are done today, but that means, ready the printer, we've got some tickets to give